Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Saha Vihirim Karvavahai, Tejasvinavadhiramastu, Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam, Alayam Karunalayam, Namami Bhagavat Padu Shankaram Loka Shankaram, Shankaram Shankaracharyam, Keshavam Bhadrayanam, Sutra Bhashkara Vande, Bhagavanto Puna Puna. Today happens to be Monday, and so we are doing Upadesha Sahasri, and we are doing 18th verse. We were doing 18th verse. I will tell you 18th verse again. Jagat Swapno, Jagrat Swapno, Tayor Bijam, Sushuptakyam, Tamomayam. It is considered to be from the waking point of view. The Sushupti, when you remember Sushupti, how do you remember? I didn't know anything. That is why it is called Tamomulam. Otherwise, it is not Tamomulam, it is Swarupa Avastha. It is Advitiya Avastha. It is Advitiya Avastha. When there is no, then there is no object, there is no other thing. You alone are there. And therefore, that is called Advitiya Avastha. But that Advitiya Avastha is, from the waking point of view, is considered to be Tamomulam. Tamomulam means it is full of darkness. And therefore, Jagrat Swapno Tayor Bijam. And a Sushupti, that a person who is Anantam, who is unlimited, and yet he doesn't know that he is unlimited, and therefore he takes himself to be the body. And therefore, the one who takes to himself to the body is called Jiva. And we have to treat him as a Jiva. The Jiva takes himself to be the Jiva. The Jiva takes himself to be the Jiva. It is the Brahman that takes himself to be the Jiva. And therefore, even though we say, how can Brahman not have ignorance? And how can it have ignorance? How can it not have knowledge, etc., etc.? Ignorance and knowledge, both they are not there. Ignorance is not a part of the truth. Knowledge is not a part of the truth, and therefore they can never exist as a part of the truth. And the will also cannot be a part of the truth. A will also only is had only by the jiva, and therefore we only say that the darkness of ignorance is only when you don't see anything as a jiva. When you don't see anything, it looks as though darkness. Whenever you try to remember something, it is all blackout. When you can't remember, it is all blackout. When you remember, then it is all light. And therefore, when you understand it, it is all light. When you don't understand, it looks like darkness. And therefore, you don't know the world, you don't know yourself also, you don't know the truth also, you don't know anything. And therefore, there is a darkness. It looks as though it is a darkness. And therefore, we have to say that the ignorance and knowledge are not a part of the truth, and therefore you can't ask a question, how can the truth not have that knowledge of itself? How can it have not how can it not have the knowledge of itself? How can it have the ignorance of itself? How can the truth have ignorance of itself? In this manner, people ask questions, and on such questions are answered by this statement that ignorance and knowledge are not a part of the truth, because ignorance also is enjoyed only by the jiva. Jiva as a jiva is enjoying the ignorance. Brahman as Brahman is free from the ignorance and knowledge both, and therefore there is no problem. And therefore here it is said, Jagat Swapno Tayor Bijam. The darkness, the Sushupti is the Swarupa Avastha. Swarupa is the every creation must have two causes. One is something called Mula Karana, means the original cause for it. The material cause, one is every material cause, that is called Upadana Karanam, and the efficient cause, that is called the Nimitta Karanam. Nimitta means Nimitta need not be will. Nimitta can be the law itself. The law itself. The Upadana, only we have to take only the Upadana. Mainly, even though we say Avinimit Papadana Karanam, but then we would only Paramatma should be taken only as a upadana karanam. Is the upadanam. Jagra Swapnam Tayor Bijam. Sushuptakyam Tamumayam. Sushuptakyam, the deep sleep. You wake up from the deep sleep state. And before you wake up in the deep sleep state, you are not this individual, you are not this body. And you identify with this body, not you directly. The intellect identifies with the body, and you illumine the intellect. And therefore, the Atma also, you think that Jiva thinks that Atma, my actuality is identified. I am actually identifying with the body. In this manner, one thinks, and therefore Tayar Bijo. And then the material is the Upadana is indeed Paramatma. It is the Paramatma that is seen as Paramatma that is seen as Jiva. Paramatma, it is Karana means not that the causation changes. It doesn't change. It doesn't change and cause. It only changes. It doesn't change and cause. Without changing, it causes the Jivatma. Jivatvam, it becomes the Jiva. Brahma becomes the Jiva. Brahma has to become the Jiva when it doesn't know itself. And the Brahmatvam, and this particular point, a lot of people misunderstand. And they say, how can Brahman not have the knowledge? How can Brahman have ignorance? In this manner, they ask the question. I say, Brahman is say we are only analyzing the jiva. Jiva is jiva. Jiva is jiva. Brahman is jiva. Name jiva is jiva, and therefore jiva is jiva is we are asking, and the jiva is jiva. Jivas are many, and that jiva is none other than Brahman, taken by the seen by the Jiva, not Brahman sees himself as Jiva. Jiva sees himself as his actuality as Brahma. His actuality as Brahma, but otherwise he is Jiva. He sees himself as a Jiva. The Jiva sees himself as a Jiva, and therefore there is no question. There is no. This has to be understood. Anyonyasmin nasatvatya. And these three states, Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti, these three states, they displace each other. They are not in one another. In the Jagrat, there is no Swapna, there is no Sushupti. In Swapna, there is no Jagrat and Sushupti. In Sushupti, there is no Jagrat and there is no Swapna. And therefore, they replace. In each state, in waking, there are no other two states. In the dream, there are no other two states. In the deep sleep state, there are no other two states. And therefore, they are all replaced by one another. And therefore, what can I, ada ante nasti vartamana tata. When before you go to sleep, there is no sleep. And therefore, after you wake up also, there is no sleep. That means it has got adi and ananta. And therefore, even now when it is experienced, it is mithya only. And therefore, Jagrata also is like that. Swapna is also like that. What was there, what was not there before, and what is not there, what will not be there later on. What is not there later on. Even now when it is seen, it is as good as not there. And this has to be understood, please. Adavante Nasti. Life is not there before it is born, and life is not there after it is gone. And therefore, even when it is there, it is as good as not there. And therefore, even you think that you are there, but as a jiva, you are not there. Jiva, as an individual, you are not there. You are not there as a separate entity, as coexistent with Brahma. As a jiva, you are not coexistent with Brahma. That's not possible. And therefore, jiva as a jiva, and therefore, you should have the vairagya. Thinking like this gives you the vairagya, and vairagya purifies the mind. And when the mind is purified, then you become more fit for vichara. And the vichara gives you the jnana. And therefore, atma buddhi manasya chakshura aloka arthadi sankarat भ्रांति स्यात् आत्मचक्षु कर्मेति क्रियाणाम सन्निपातः. Sannipata means coexistence. Coexistence means being existent as though along with it, and it looks as though as they're coexistent. Sankarat, confusion, their mixture. Atma. Atma means the body. Buddhi. Buddhi means the intellect. Manaha means the mind. Chakshu means manas chakshu. Chakshu means the eye. Aloka arthat. Aloka. Aloka means the light. The light is the chakshu. Aloka artha. Artha the sankarat. There are a lot of things confusing. There are a lot of things which are the objects of the buddhi, manaha, chakshu, adi, lokarthadi, sankarat. There is sankara means the confusion. Sankara means a mixture. Bhranti syat. And therefore, even though mind and intellect are identified with the body, one thinks that Atma is identified with the body. It is only the mind. The thought is that Atma thinks that I am identified with the body. One thinks that Jiva thinks that I am identified with I am the body, because he is none other than he is not the body, but he thinks that he is the body. Even though he thinks that he is the body through the thought, that is what he thinks. But here the thought is identified with. Here he is saying, and the thought is identified with the body. When the thought is identified with the body, thought is nothing but the determination, buddhi, manaha, chakshu, and also identification with the senses. And therefore, one thinks that I am identified with all the senses and the mind and the intellect. In this manner, the Atma thinks. Atma thought, Atma thinks. Atma is thought by the Jiva. Jiva talks about. Jiva is भ्रांति स्यात् आत्मकर्मेति क्रियाणां सन्निपातः. Atma सन्निपातः. Sannipata means coexistent. Because of coexistence, sannipatah. Kriyanam. The body moves, the movement of the body, the movement of the thought, the movement of the chakshu, alaka the arthana, artha sankarat, alok artha sankarat means due to the light and due to the objects, they are considered to be myself. I consider them to be myself, and therefore there is a bhranti. Nela nimela unmelane. Nimela unmelane is the eyelids. You close your eyelids and you open your eyelids. Unmela means opening eyelids. Nimela means closing eyelids. Unmelane sthane vayavyatena chakshusha. Even though they're all connected to the they're all inspired by the breath. Vayavya means they're all inspired by the pranamaya. Mukhya prana, chakshushaha, tena chakshushaha, prakashatvat. Chakshu is meant only to see the objects, to see the colors like red and blue, etc. It can only see the colors. It can only, even the light, it sees in the light the objects. The light illumines the objects. The light cannot illumine the sounds. You have to understand this, Ji. The light cannot illumine the sounds. When somebody hears, the sound can be heard, whether the light is there or not, and the sound can be heard. But you can, even in darkness, you can talk, but then you can't see in the darkness, and therefore the form is illumined with the colors are illumined. Colors means objects. The forms are the shapes. They're all illumined by the consciousness, and consciousness is nothing but Atma, yourself, existence. Buddha nastaha prakashadaha. Swayam prakashatvat manasyevam buddha nastaha prakashadaha. One thinks that the mind and the intellect are also kriya. Kriya means action. They are also active. We think that they're also active. We think that they are also active. The mind and the intellect also are thought to be active. Prakashadaha. But actually, in the same manner, Atma also being identified with the body, and the mind and intellect, their actions are taken to be Atma's actions, consciousness actions. Sankalpadhyavasayavtu. Sankalpadhyavasayavtu. Sankalpa means in the mind is meant to do the sankalpa. Sankalpa vikalpa, the doubting mind. Sankalpa, wherever there is sankalpa, there can be vikalpa. If you like something, that is called sankalpa. If you don't like it, then it is dislike. Then if it is dislike, then it is called vikalpa. If you like something, have I locked my room? The Swamiji used to say when he was a brahmachari. He used to say, have I locked my room? That is called sankalpa. He says, no, I have locked my room. Then he gets a doubt. When he gets a doubt, that is called sankalpa. Vikalpa means the choice. No, I have not locked. Maybe I have a doubt. That is sankalpa vikalpa. Sankalpa vikalpa atmakam manaha. Mind is always sankalpa and vikalpa in the form of sankalpa and vikalpa. Sankalpa vikalpa atmakam manaha. What is buddhi? Buddhi means adhyavasayate iti anaya adhyavasayate. The determining faculty is called the intellect. The determining this alone. I have indeed locked. I have seen it. And this, when you determine like this, that is called buddhi. You call it buddhi, but that they are nothing but thoughts only. Mind is called sankalpa vikalpa atmakam. Sankalpa vikalpa atmakam. Buddhi is adhyavasaya. Adhyavasaya means determining. Mano buddhi paryata chakra karma. Sankalpa adhyavasayavtu mano buddhyoho yatha kramat. Mind is sankalpa vikalpa atmakam. Buddhi is adhyavasayatmakam. दोनों both of them are of the nature. ना इतरेतर धर्मत्व. But never they are never they are not vice versa. They are not there, but the mind doesn't determine, and the intellect also doesn't have the doubt, and therefore sarvam cha atmani kalpitam, and therefore everything is kalpita in the atma. One is avidya kalpitam, the other is called shastra kalpitam. Avidya kalpitam is called avidya kalpitam is the whole jagat is kalpitam by the avidya. Avidya kalpitam is the jagat. Shastra kalpitam is you study the shastra to understand the shruti, to understand exactly what the truth is, what atma is, and therefore you study the shastra, you hear the shastra to understand yourself, and in the process, and the shastra adopts certain prakriyas, certain methodologies, and those methodologies are called prakriyas. Those methodologies are called prakriyas, and those prakriyas are called methodologies, methods, the various methods, and those methods are also kalpita by the shastra. The entire teaching is kalpita ji, kalpita in the atma. Even though they are not there, they are true, but they are kalpita in the atma. They are kalpitatvam. Jagat is avidya kalpitam, dehoham is avidya kalpitam, but then all prakriyas adopted by the shastra are shastra kalpitas. Thus we have two kalpitas. Both of them are not not avidya kalpitam. Avidya kalpitam is not a part of the truth, and shastra kalpitam prakriyas also are not a part of the truth. Even knowledge is not a part of the truth. Ignorance is not a part of the truth, and therefore atmani kalpitam. Everything is kalpitam. Everything is kalpitam. Atmani kalpitam. Atmani kalpitam means Shastra is kalpitam. Shastra is also pramanam. So we say Shabda is a pramanam, but Shabda is a pramanam, but that Shabda is also kalpitam in the Atma. That is why we say avidya, Atma, adhyasa means superimposition of taking the Atma, taking oneself as the body, and the body is to be oneself. That is called anadyanantav. The anadyanante. It has no adi, it has no anta, avidya. Anadir anante naisargikoyam loka vyavahara. This vyavahara is indeed like lokika. me and mine, my bacche, mera bacche. In this manner, the be sarvaloka pratyaksha. Everybody can see it. This Vyavahara is doing. I am this body. When you say, that means there is adhyasa, and therefore there is adhyasa all over the universe. The universe means even the aliens, if they are jivas, they have to be looked at the jivas, looked at the jivas, and those jivas are also having adhyasa. Even when we say devas, devatas in heaven, if you go to heaven, then you become a devata, and then those devatas are also nothing but they are also under the spell of adhyasa, and therefore adhyasa is universal. Adhyasa is always universal, and therefore that because of that adhyasa, man takes himself to be. Because of that adhyasa, all the pramanas are there, including the pratyaksha pramanam and also Veda pramanam and also Vedantam also is all kalpitam. Is all kalpitam. Being kalpitam. It is kalpitam. Where is it kalpitam? Kalpitam in the Atma. Atma itself is not akalpitam. Akalpitam, it is said in the verse number 16. Avikalpitam तदन्य तदन्य अन्य तदस्त्येन अस्त्येव अविकल्पितम अस्त्येव अविकल्पित जो जो अविकल्पित है वो तो हमेशा रहता है. If you have kalpana, what is it that you do the kalpana? In order to do the kalpana, you must have the fact, and that fact is what is called the vastu, akalpitam. Atma is akalpitam. Everything else is kalpitam. Pramana is kalpitam. Shastra is kalpitam. Jnanam is kalpitam. Ajnanam is kalpitam. Everything is kalpitam in the Atma, in yourself. And therefore, in yourself means not in you is Jiva, in you the Brahman. And therefore, Manaha Buddhistya Yatha Kramata na itretra dharmatmudra sarvam cha atmani kalpitam. Tasmata. Sarvam cha atmani kalpitam. This we have seen, 21st we have seen. 22nd we have to see. स्थान अवच्छेद दृष्टि स्याद इंद्रियाणाम तदात्मकम. स्थान अवच्छेद दृष्टि. Sthana, the spatial, sthana means spatial, sthana means spatial limitation, is felt by Syad Indriyanam Kaltadatmakam. Indriya, all the senses are supposed to have, all the senses and sense objects are limited by, they are there in a particular place. They are there in a particular, only here, my eyes are only here, not everywhere. My eyes are only in the body. They're all connected to the Atma, connected to the body and through the body, and then through the body, through the mind, through the intellect, it is connected to the Atma only. Atma is only connected to the body, connected through the mind, through the intellect, etc. And therefore, sthana avacheda drishtihi, syad indriyanam atmatam. And therefore, when a person thinks that my drishti is only my senses are me, that is sthana avacheda. The senses are limited by space. गताधिः गताधिः ताम गताधिः ताम तो पश्यन्यः देहमात्रः एव ईक्षते. पश्यन् गता गता तदात्मतां गता तदात्मतां गताः धीः गताः धीः गताः धीः गताः धीः. When a person sees the senses to be himself, when a person sees himself to be the self, himself to be the senses, himself to be the body, then he thinks that he is limited. Why? Because the body is limited, and therefore I am also limited. The senses are limited, and therefore I am also limited. Why? Because there is a limitation by space. Spatial, I am not sarvatra. I am not everywhere. My senses are there only at a given place, and they are all spatially limited, and therefore I am not all pervasive. In this manner, one thinks. Who thinks? The Jiva thinks. But actually, who thinks? Actually, it's thought by the Param Brahma. Param Brahma only thinks that I am a human being. It is the Param Brahma But even though technically we say it is, how can the Brahman think? In this manner, we say the one who thinks can be asked this question: how can you think? How can you think? But you can't ask the table or the chair or any chair or the sofa. How can you think? You can't ask, because they don't know. Everybody knows that they don't think, and therefore you can say to the jiva. The jiva, you can be said. Jiva can be asked a question: how can you think that you are limited? You are limited, and therefore we can say the Brahman is, even though technically it is right to ask, to say, even though it is okay to say that Brahman thinks like that I am limited, but then it is always better to say that Jiva thinks that I am limited, because the one who thinks that he is limited is Jiva, and the one who thinks that he is limited is Jiva, and the who thinks, only Jiva thinks, and Brahman doesn't think. Brahmatma is only being. Brahmatma is only just to be. To be is the truth of the whole Brahman. To be, the truth. To be. Being is the truth. That is why they say you can't think of the Brahman. You can be that Brahman. You can be that Brahman. You cannot think in sleep. You cannot think of the waking. You cannot think of the sleep. You can be asleep. You cannot think of you cannot think of yourself in sleep. You can only be asleep. You can be asleep. In the same manner, kshanikam hi tavat tadatyartham tadatyartham. Ignorance and knowledge are very ignorance and knowledge are very kshanikam. Kshanikam means they don't remain permanently. They are very kshanikam, momentary. The thought of ignorance and the thought of knowledge, both of them are momentary. Momentary means they're only kshanikam. They're only momentary. Momentary means non-eternal. They're not there always. They just come and go, come and disappear. Kshanikam hi tadatyartham. Dharma matram nirantaram. Dharma matram, dharma matram, dharma matram. Dharma matram means it is only, even dharma matram nirantaram. It has got an adjective. It has got dharma matram. Nirantaram. Nirantaram means it is always nirantaram, sada. Sada. Nirantaram means sada. It is always momentary. It is always momentary. Knowledge and ignorance are always momentary. Sadrishatva tipavat. And also it has got dharma. Dharma quality. Dharma quality means knowledge and ignorance. Knowledge and noun and adjective. Noun adjective relationship they have. And therefore, when they have the noun and adjective relationship, nirantaram, sadrishyat. And when you see your house in second time, it is sadrishyam. But you say it is the same house. It is the same knowledge. It is not the same knowledge. It is a different sadrishatma, because it is similar, and therefore you think it is the same knowledge. It is not the same knowledge. It is a similar knowledge. Sadrishatma. And Deepa, even though you see the lamp is the same, but lamp is the same. You say it is sadrishatvat. Next time you see it is only sadrishatvat. It is similar only. It is not the same. It's not similar. Your knowledge of this Deepa is only similar. It is not the same. And therefore, sadrishatvat, shanti purushottam, purusharthata. Your shanti, to gain shanti is indeed your goal. To gain shanti is your goal. To gain peace is your goal. And therefore, all these things are nirantara. Because when that momentary thought, momentary knowledge also disappears, then only you are there. And when you are there, that is shanti. That is shanti. Only when you are there, only when you have to be there. You have to be there, and that is shanti. It is not, if it is that knowledge is there as a part of the truth, then the jiva is also there as a part of the truth. Jivatma has to be there as a part of the truth, and therefore as a jivatma also should be there. When Jivatvam is there, that means Jiva cannot be happy, peaceful. Jiva is always doing something, and therefore the knowledge and ignorance, knowledge also has to go, and therefore the Jivatvam also goes away along with it. And therefore, when the Jivatvam is gone, only Brahman is there, and Brahman without ignorance is there, and Brahman without ignorance, there is no ignorance, there is no only Brahmatvam is there, and that Brahmatvam is free from ignorance and knowledge both, and that is shant, that is peacefulness, absoluteness, and that absoluteness is what is called shanti. In sushupti, you are advitiyam. In the deep sleep state, you are absolute. In that state, you are absolute. In that state, whatever is there is only yourself. There is no other thing. Only you are there, and that is what it is advitiyatvam, and that is called peace, and that is your goal, nirantaram. That is that is called purushartham. Purusharthata means that is what it is gain. It is purushena arthyate iti purushartha. Purushena arthyate means that is what he wants. Shanti is what he wants. He is not interested. Pleasure is a means sadhanam for shanti. A person who enjoys the object in order to be peaceful, and in order to be peaceful, he goes to after object. He enjoys the pleasure in order to get the peace. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. You like all the objects because you like the shanti. You think that you like the pleasures. Pleasures also are the means for shanti. Shanti is the sadhana. Shanti is what you want. That is why it's called purushartha. Purushena arthyate iti purushartha. What man wants is peace. He is not interested in jumping and around. Ultimately, he jumps around because he has got the body, the jiva. He is peaceful. When a person is, that peacefulness is what he wants. Peacefulness is what he wants. Shanti Purusharthata. Shanti is actually Purusharthata. Deepa, when you see the Deepa, a flame of lamp, when you see second time, it looks the same knowledge, but it's not the same knowledge. It is similar to that thought. It is a different thought. Because if it is same thought, it should continue, but it's not there, and therefore it disappears, and then you are there, and therefore the thought goes away, the thought of the light goes away, the thought of the flame goes away, that you saw, and then what you see, that thought is only second thought, second time thought, and that second time thought is only sadrishyam. It is similar because it looks the same. It is not the same. It is not the same. It is similar. In this manner, I may say, and therefore, therefore, shanti purushartha. Purushena arthate. What man wants is only shanti, and therefore he gets the shanti when they are not a part of the truth. If they are a part of the truth, then you are also a part of the truth. You are also a part of the truth, then you become as a jiva. You continue to exist, and you continue to exist. You stumble upon your pains. You will only become painful. It will only become painful. It will only give you. You will only do things which will only bring you pain. You will not do things which will bring you happiness. You will not discern anything. As a jiva, you are always a dukhi, and therefore you are not a part of it. Jivatvam, the individuality is not a part of the truth, and therefore when the jnanam goes away, jivatvam also goes away, and therefore when the jivatvam goes away, then there is shanti, and therefore that shanti is the purushartha, is what man wants, and therefore object is a sadhanam for pleasure, and pleasure is a sadhanam for peace, and therefore you want to be peaceful. There is no need for the pleasure. Pleasure, even though you enjoy the pleasure, but the pleasure is only shanti is your nature. Ashanti is imposed. Ashanti is imposed. Shanti is exactly what you want. Shanti, Ashanti is imposed on the Atma. It is Kalpitam. Shanti is your nature, your Swarupam. Shanti is your Swarupam and Ashanti is imposed. And therefore, nothing is nothing is the nature of the truth. It is, you can't add anything to the truth. You can't delete anything from the truth. And that truth, the what? It is said by the Shruti, and just Sadeva Swami Damagrasi. The action-free self alone is everything. Action-free self is alone everything. Everything is made of that action-free self. That action, Sadeva Swami Idamagrasid, all this, like a pot maker, first he needs जैसे आटा गूंथते हैं ना, ऐसे गुन के रखने के बाद फिर उसको पॉट्स बनाते हैं. वो सारे पॉट्स, what were they? They were all nothing but clay. But now what are they called? They are called pots. But once you call them pots, then they will continue to be pots in your mind. But they're not. You are calling them pots, but they are being clay only. They're being. There is a difference between calling and being. You are only calling them pots, but they are being pots only. They're being only clay. They're being only clay, and therefore you are calling them pots. That is exactly what is the meaning of clay and pot example. It is called Vacharammanam Vikaranamdeyam. They are called pots. You call them, you call yourself body, but you are being Brahman. Yes. You are calling yourself the body. You are calling yourself a jiva, but you are Shabda and Pratyaya, along with the word, there is a thought also. You are looking upon yourself as a body, but you are not the body. You are indeed free from the body. You are not locked up in the body. The body is locked up in the Atma, in you. In this manner, it is that is called Purusharthata. And therefore, you don't enjoy the pleasures for pleasure's sake. You enjoy the pleasures for peace sake. And therefore, everybody is interested only in peace. And therefore, Shanti Paramarthata. Shanti is the Paramarthata. That is Bhashagara is saying. Shanti is the Paramarthata. Pleasure is not what we want. Object we want for the pleasure. The pleasure we want so that we can get peaceful. We can get peace. Ultimately, what do we want? Peace alone. Shanti alone. Shanti is what is called Purusharthata. And the more of it we will see in the next class. Thank you very much. And the 4th of September, I'll come to Ramana Kendra. Please, all of you please come to Ramana Kendra. Thank you very much. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamuchyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Shanti. Thank you.